Hi everyone, it's Sam from D&D Newbie Sessions, and today we're going to be talking about how to set up a character on D&D Beyond for an upcoming game. So first up here, you're going to want to head over to dndbeyond.com and register for an account. And once you've got that taken care of, you head on over to the top right corner here, where your username is. Hover over it and head on down to the characters option. All right, so you can see your character vault here, and we're going to be making a fresh character. So let's click Create a Character. And we're going to be doing the standard option because that's most likely what you want. It gives you control over building the character that you think is cool, that you want to have at an upcoming newbie session. And I do recommend checking this box. It's pretty helpful. Shows a lot of introductory content explaining like the whole process. Exactly like this. So you can start to read through here, learn about this, about what we're going to be doing here. But I'm just going to click next so we can get started. So first up, I'm going to rename my character. I'll just do another Sam, I guess. And there are a bunch of options here. Now this is kind of confusing, especially when you're first starting out. But the good news is that you can actually just ignore most of it. What I recommend changing on this first screen is under advancement type, change it from milestone to XP and click confirm because that's the type of system that we're using with the newbie sessions. And then optionally, you can change your hit point type option from fixed to manual if you'd like. Fixed means you increase your hit points, your health, by a fixed value when you level for your chosen class. But I enjoy like rolling dice for that kind of stuff, so I'm going to change mine to manual and click confirm. From there, you can really just leave everything the same. You might be wondering about character privacy. If you want, you can change it to private, but when we get to game night, we do need to be able to access your character. So if you leave it public, you don't have to worry about it anymore. If you do want to make it private, that's fine, but you'll need to export a copy of your character as a PDF and share it instead. So public is the easy option. All right, so now we can read about choosing a race, so you feel free to check that out. Otherwise, you're going to get a nice long list of potential races here. For this particular video, I'm going to build a Dragonborn. So I'm going to click on that one. And you'll see I get a little pop-up box, and it describes what sort of things I get as part of being a Dragonborn. If I didn't like this, I can click cancel and try a different option. But in this case, that's what I want. So I'm going to click choose race. All right, now I land on this screen here, and you're going to notice there's this little blue exclamation mark. This is indicating that there is something I need to take care of, as opposed to these other ones where if I expand these are just things I can read about, but I don't actually have to take any action. However, I do recommend still reading through them because it's helpful. Depending on the class or the race you selected, you'll have different choices, obviously. But for this particular one, I have Draconic Ancestry, so I'm going to click on it. And what it's asking me to do is read through here, look at the table, and choose which type of dragon I want to be, because it changes the damage type and what type of breath weapon it is. In this particular case, I think I'm going to go with Blue Dragon, have lightning damage, a 5 by 30 foot line with a dex save. That sounds pretty good. Alrighty. Now, for a lot of these things, as you go through and make choices, it's going to explain some things and other things it's not going to explain super well. So you'll have to just do some research outside of D&D Beyond if you really want to know like what this is all about. Otherwise, I'd say don't worry about it too much. Just make some choices based on what you think sounds cool. And then when we get to game night, we can explain in more detail. All right, next up, we're going to choose a class. It's going to tell you a little information about it. It's also going to mention multi-classing here. Don't worry about multi-classing, especially if you're first starting out. It's more of an advanced option, and I don't recommend it unless you've got some games under your belt and you start to understand how this all works. All right, so similar situation. We've got a whole list of classes here. I'm going to go with the fighter option. And again, I get that pop-up. I can read through, what does a fighter get? What do I get at future levels? Things like that. Again, I can click cancel if I don't want it. Otherwise, I can click add class. And very similar again, you're going to see I have things to read about and then things I need to act on. I can also override my manual here. So I'm starting at level 1, but if I wanted to, I could. If my DM said, hey, this is not a level 1 adventure, this is actually a level 3 adventure, I could come here and click level 3, and I could choose to level up from 1 to 3, and I'd have to make some additional choices at that point. But since I do want a level 1 Dragonborn fighter, I'm going to leave that option there, and I'm going to go check out what it's asking me to take care of. So under Proficiencies, I need to choose 2 fighter skills. So let's see here. I'm going to go with athletics, and let's do intimidation. Sounds cool. Again, it doesn't tell you what these are. You're going to have to go and research them if you want. Otherwise, I'd say, again, just select what you think sounds useful or cool. And then for fighting style, same deal. I've got some options here. If I click on like archery, you'll see I get a description of what will actually happen if I choose it. In this case, I actually want to do 2-weapon fighting because I think that's pretty cool. I can read about Second Wind if I want. Otherwise, I'm going to click Next. Next up, we can choose our ability scores, and you can see there are multiple generation methods: standard array, point buy, and manual. And you can explore those a little more if you want. I'm going to be focused on the manual option because, again, I like rolling dice to generate my scores. All right, so let's choose manual/rolled and start the dice rolling process. Ooh, 7 is not good. Come on. 17, there we go. That's a good one. 13, pretty decent. 14, even better. Another 13, I can live with that. And a 10, okay. All right, so now I get to, I got my dice rolls all figured out. And now I get to apply them to the particular abilities that I want them for. So in this case, I'm going to have my 17 go towards strength, since I plan to mostly be using melee weapons. I want my next highest to go towards constitution to assist with my hit points. I'm going to have one of my 13s go for dex. And let's see, I don't know. Let's do wisdom and charisma, and then intelligence for my lowest. So I guess I'm not too bright, but I'm a good fighter. And once I got these loaded in the way I want, I'm going to click Apply Ability Scores. Once you do that, it'll load in up here, and you can see down here I now have calculations. So you can see my strength, for instance, as a total score of 19. And that's coming from my base score of 17, and my racial bonus +2, that comes out to a 19, and my modifier is a +4. Now, you don't need to really worry too much about these once you generate them. I'll explain, or the DM will explain on game night, like how these work, what they're for, how to roll dice based on them, and stuff like that. Otherwise, just click Next. Okay, now it's time to choose a background. So again, I'm going to have a drop down here, and I have a few options to choose from. In this case, I'm going to go soldier, since that seems kind of fitting. I can read about it. Otherwise, I have a couple skill proficiencies to choose. So let's see here. First up, I am going to do insight, because I think that's pretty cool and useful. And then second, I am going to do survival. I think that's also useful. Again, you'll have to go read about them if you want to know more. I also have a tool proficiency with land vehicles. It's selected for me by default. And I'm going to choose a gaming set. I'm just going to do some playing cards. I can read about military rank. I also have suggested characteristics here. Now, you can totally make these up yourself if you have a certain personality and backstory you want. Otherwise, you can use some of these. You can manually add individuals from each table, or you can click random and see what it gives you. Just for fun, I will do random for each table there. All right, so I'm going to collapse that and continue on. I have character details. I can choose my alignment. If you select any of these, they will give you a description of what it's all about. I think I am going to be a good character, so I'm going to do lawful good. I currently have no faith, which is fine. And then my lifestyle, I'll just do modest. Again, I can read about that if I want. Physical characteristics, I can start to set those. I can come down to personal characteristics and read about those random choices I just selected. So personality traits, I am always polite and respectful, and so on. And then lastly, I can add custom notes. So if there were some organizations I belonged to or some allies that I had, enemies, backstory notes, any other miscellaneous type notes, you could add them here. Okay, next up we've got equipment. We've got starting equipment or starting gold. And then it also talks a little bit about encumbrance. Encumbrance you won't need to worry about for the newbie sessions, but it could be useful for other games and DMs. All right, so under equipment, you have your two options, equipment or gold. I highly recommend choosing equipment if you're a new player. Gold means they will give you gold, and then you have to go and buy the equipment that you want, which is cool, but definitely more advanced. Equipment is the much easier choice. All right, so once we click on that, we have a variety of different options. So first up, we have chainmail or leather armor, longbow, and 20 arrows. I like that option, so I'm going to choose that one. Next up, a martial weapon and a shield, or two martial weapons. I'm going to do two martial weapons, and I'm going to choose two short swords, because I think that would be pretty cool to fight with one in each hand. I'm going to do two hand axes as a couple fallback weapons, plus they can be thrown at range. And then I'm going to do a Dungeoneer's pack, and you can see what's inside that pack. Lastly, I had a soldier background, so I've got some choices here. I'm going to do a dagger as another fallback weapon, plus it can also be thrown. And then I'm going to do a set of bone dice, because that sounds pretty cool. Now that I'm done, I'm going to click Add Starting Equipment. And you'll see I now have an inventory with a bunch of stuff in it. One other thing you can do here is you can click on use and wield and wear on all of these different items. Now, this technically doesn't make sense because I can't use, two short swords, a longbow, a couple hand axes, and a dagger all at once. But what's nice about it is it puts it from the equipment tab into the actions tab, and when it's there, it will make it very easy to see like what the attack bonus is, how much damage they do. If they're in the equipment, you don't get to see that stuff until you activate them. A couple other things on this screen. If you click on the plus button, you can read about the actual items. You can also change the quantities. And below here, you can also go to add items and add specific items. Now, please, for the newbie sessions in the games we run within our community, please do not add items or change the quantities. The way that works is when you go out on adventures, you fight enemies, you explore, and you find loot, and that's how you get new things like this. A good example is the airship. Like if you came in here and clicked add on airship, you are adding a 20,000 gold piece airship to your inventory, which your DM will most likely not be happy about. So please don't add anything like that unless you get specific permission from your DM. Same goes with those quantity. Just leave the defaults, and as you explore, you'll get more stuff. There's also an other possessions option here, which is kind of cool. You can come in here and maybe add some unique items that are custom tailored to your backstory or your character or something. Again, you might want to talk with your DM about it, and you definitely don't want to be adding anything here that is like really expensive or has some sort of magical properties. Those are the types of things that you need to talk with your DM about first. Alrighty, so we're going to click next, and we are all done with the character build process. Now we can export to PDF if we want, but I want to actually view my character sheet, so I'm going to click that. And voila, there we go. So we can see my character is all loaded in here. We've got a bunch of scores listed. And some cool things you can do is you can click on like the numbers to roll dice. So you can do a athletics check. I got a 2, which is not great, but my +6 brings it up to an 8. Okay. I can also do that for maybe a saving throw, strength saving throw. I got a 17. Okay, very good. I could do that on my weapons, like my dagger attack. 19, even better, 25 total. That is definitely going to be hitting any enemies that I'm fighting, which means I could roll damage then. 1d4 plus 4. Wow, and I got max damage. 4 plus 4, 8 damage. That is really good. And lastly, one other thing you can do is you can click on basically anything on this screen, like your dagger, and read about it, learn more about the stats and stuff. You can go to the equipment tab, read about your backpack, for instance. Or you could go to features and traits and read about my 2-weapon fighting style and get some additional information. I could go down my skills and read about athletics or deception or history, all sorts of stuff like that. So start to take a look at your character, get to know them, what kind of options they have, bring this to the newbie session events, and from there we will walk you through how the game works, what all these things mean, and then start to have some fun. So that's the whole video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at a game in the future.